The United Nations Secretary-General has formally launched a strategy and plan of action on hate speech. The launch comes after a disturbing groundswell of intolerance, racism and xenophobia and hate-based violence targeting worshippers of many faiths, most notably attacks on churches in Sri Lanka and Burkina Faso, mosques in New Zealand and synagogues in the United States, to mention a few. The UN strategy and plan of action is billed as an ambitious program to coordinate efforts across the UN system to identify, prevent and confront hate speech.
The United Nations says hate speech has gained a foothold and is spreading like wildfire. But the UN boss believes it's on notice, putting in place a strategy he hopes will get buy-in from all member states.
In both liberal democracies and authoritarian regimes, some political leaders are bringing the hate-fueled ideas and language of these groups into the mainstream, normalizing them, coarsening the public discourse and weakening the social fabric. Hate speech is in itself an attack on tolerance, inclusion, diversity, and the very essence of our human rights norms and principles. More broadly, it undermines social cohesion, erodes shared values, and can lay the foundation for violence, setting back the cause of peace, stability, sustainable development, and the fulfillment of human rights for all.
Guterres laid out two overriding objectives for the plan. First, to enhance efforts to address the root causes of hate speech that include violence, marginalization, discrimination, poverty, and a lack of education, among others, aspects that the current 2030 development agenda seek to address. The second objective is to enable the United Nations to respond effectively to the impact of hate speech on societies around the world. With plans afoot to convene a conference on the role of education in addressing and building resilience against hate speech.
Addressing hate speech does not mean limiting or prohibiting freedom of speech. It means keeping hate speech from escalating into something more dangerous, particularly incitement to discrimination, hostility and violence, which is prohibited under international law. We should treat it like any other malicious act, by condemning it unconditionally, refusing to amplify it, countering it with the truth, and encouraging the perpetrators to change their behavior.
Just in the United States, the latest FBI statistics show a 17% increase in reported hate crimes during 2017 compared to the previous year, as the world is urged to confront the scourge by forming strong partnerships.
In Christchurch, people ferried the injured to hospital in their own cars before ambulances could reach them. In Sri Lanka, the Muslim Council called on the faithful to help the Christian brothers and sisters affected by the Easter Sunday bombings. In Pittsburgh, members of the Muslim community organized to help the victims and survivors of the United States' worst anti-Semitic attack. We all need to do better at looking out for each other, and this strategy sets out how we, the United Nations, can play our part.
Hate speech, also seen as a precursor to atrocity crimes including genocide from Rwanda to Bosnia and Cambodia. The UN's plan of action to be coordinated by the Special Envoy on the Prevention of Genocide, Adama Dieng. Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.